Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jodi L. Milner. Hey everybody, welcome to Squirrel. This is Jodi.
This is Candace.
Today we're doing something special, and if you haven't been tuning in for a while, it might be a surprise. If you have been, it's not a surprise at all.
Surprise!
Because this week we're going to spend the entire episode digging into Candy's inner psyche.
Oh my gosh.
And when I say dig, we're going to dig.
Yeah, your questions really threw me, so I'm impressed.
So I think this is a beautiful chance to dive into Candy's personal writing journey. And I think we're going to have a great time. I hope we're going to have a great time.
So.
Because I think we're going to have some very interesting discussions. But before we dive in, do you want to just give us just a little artist snapshot of who you are as a writer?
Sure. I write young adult fantasy. That's my favorite genre, honestly, is young adult fantasy. And I have a series. And that was first published in 2013. That the first one was. And then I started writing romantic comedy. I started writing that as really an escape because my third book in the series was really hard for me to write. It was really taxing and it stressed me out. So I started this side project to just kind of refresh my brain and keep me happy in writing because I don't do well with deadlines. It was hard. But anyway, I started writing romantic comedy and found that I really enjoy that as well. I have a youthful, funny voice. Not my speaking voice. That's funny too. But I like to do comedy. And so like the romantic comedy is just really fun. There's really no pressure. Not as much pressure, I should say, that there is with fantasy. Because fantasy, you've got to have all of your world created. There's so much work that goes into it. With romantic comedies, there's not as much work. It's a lot easier.
It's a hugely different animal.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's way easier. But anyway, does that answer your question?
I think that does terrific.
That
does terrifically. I think that's swell.
I have always liked writing. I've always been creative and I always wanted to write, but I never believed that I'd actually be a writer, because it seems unbelievable to have written a book. Don't you sometimes go, oh my gosh, I've done this? Doesn't that hit you sometimes? And you're like, I can't believe that I did this.
Well, and then when people are like, so what do you do? I'm like, I write books. Like, really?
Yeah, people are like, yeah. They freak out. And I forget.
I'm like, oh yeah.
I forget that, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing in my life. And yeah, I've done that. So it's just fun. It's interesting. I can't believe that my life turned this way. And yeah, it's been fun.
It has been.
So
I agree. So we're going to first dive deeper into your creative origins and your writing identity. So this is something that was on your website, but you describe yourself as an author, poet, wanderer, and dreamer. So how do these facets of yourself influence your writing process and storytelling? You kind of answered this a little bit, but if you want to go into more depth.
Right. I mean, I've had this tag for a long time because this is me. This is my storytelling. This is what I do. So I am constantly absorbing my surroundings and searching for stories within that. I really like to dig into why is specific things the way they are when I go places. When I'm there and I'm thinking about these places and why this happened, then I also dream about characters that would have lived in the world when that would have happened. So my brain is constantly moving, and I call it wanderer dreamer because that's really what I am. We should go to Disneyland because if you've ever gone anywhere with me, you will know that I am the worst. Because I am the worst because I constantly get distracted by things and I mosey. I don't walk directly. I mosey and I get lost in the crowd like leaves. I was in New York and we were with a tour group who was doing a Central Park tour. And I was so impressed with when you walk down the mall and there was all these drummers using all sorts of different cans and there was artists. I mean, how could I not stop and look at all that stuff? And it was fascinating to me. So I'm constantly a sponge of things that are around me. And I do tend to, like, they left me. The whole tour group left me.
Oh,
or if I'm at Disneyland, I tend to get lost or behind everyone else. I'm that person. It's terrible.
gotcha. All right. You did talk about your debut novel, Viva Terra, but you didn't mention that it won the League of Utah Writers Diamond Award for the best novel of the year. How did this award influence your confidence and direction as a writer?
This is a very interesting question because I would like to say it was easy to answer, but it's not. Well, first thing is Viva Terra was the first thing that I wrote. It's the first thing that I sought to get published. I really wanted to make sure that this is dumb. I wanted to be traditionally published because I didn't have enough confidence in my own writing. And of course, this was the time when you did query people because self-publishing wasn't really off.
It was brand spanking new.
Yeah, it really
and not
wasn't
many people
much.
were doing it.
People were still quite afraid of it. And so I sought out traditional publishing and to gauge if I was actually good at what I was doing. And then I go and win the biggest award in the entire league on my first go. Now, I don't think that I'll ever top that. I don't think I'll get another #1 book or best whatever. It's not going to happen. But the thing that surprised me was that from that point on, I had so much more confidence. And I presented myself differently when it came to talking with people and interacting with readers or other writers. Having this a little accolade was strange, and I had it from the beginning of my writing career. So it also might have put a weird sign over my head that people treated me differently. But I don't think so. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer. I know that it did give me a lot of confidence, and that's the one thing that I didn't have before I published or before I began writing in general. So,
very nice. We're going to step into a different facet because you've mentioned in the past that writing often serves as therapy when you're facing challenging times. Can you share how this has shaped how you write?
These are deep questions.
I should have kept things light and fluffy.
No. This is good. It's all good. I think that at one point in my life, I really needed to express my creativity in a way because it wasn't being expressed. It was being suppressed by life. You know, when you have little kids and your focus is to keep them alive, then there isn't much time spent on you or on any kind of creative endeavors because there's no time to it. So when I started writing Viva Terra before I got pregnant with my second child. And then I stopped writing for a while and picked it up when she was about 2 again. So it took me, good 7 years, 8 years? I can't do math. But that writing all of a sudden became really important for me to express myself, to reconnect who I really am. As a mom, I focus on, and I become this mother person, but the real me is, this creative ball of energy. And I couldn't do that. So that's why I say that writing was therapy. And it still is. I started to write more poetry to be more of my therapeutic feelings, being expressed when I got a little bit older and my kids got older and easier. I needed a little bit deeper writing journey. Yes, there you go. That's
All right. Excellent. We're now going to start moving into some of your inspirations and vivid imaginations, as it were. I know that dreams play a significant role in your book, To Dream in Daylight. Have dreams influenced any of your other works?
That's a good question.
The fast answer could be no.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not the real answer. So when I dream, my brain is often processing information that needs answers. I often answer questions while I'm dreaming. Do you? Am I the only one that happens? Like
sometimes.
It'll wake me up going, I know exactly what I need to do here. Or, I'll create, there was a presentation I had to prepare for the other day, and I had the answers. It was answered in my sleep what I needed to do. And I was like, I woke up in the morning with all these ideas. That happens to me a lot. So I can say, yes, dreams do kind of influence me. But if I go to bed working on a specific idea, it will stay with me in my dreams and sometimes answer the creative questions that I need answering, specifically with stories. I will create stories and wake up with stories in my head. That happens a lot. How are all of them written? No. Was Vivid Tarot one? Yes. I really rely a lot on dreams. And that's a funny question because I never really put it down in thought until you asked me this.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people do. Like you go to bed with a problem, and then when you go to face it the next day, the answers feel easier. Yeah. Like you've had a chance to process it and, like you said, sleep on it. I think that's a fascinating look into using sleep as creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a blog. You don't post a lot on your blog, but you do have some very interesting things there.
I don't even remember. It's been maybe a solid year, maybe 2 since I've written in that thing. But I used to write in it constantly. There's a lot of material there. Mm-hmm. So
one of the things you've discussed in your blog is the importance of observing life's details to enrich writing. Is there a real life observation that ended up in your fiction somewhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Setting is a character to me. It's constantly a character. And so the details I absorb when I travel often come out in my writing. And I like to write about places that I have traveled. If I'm doing any kind of romantic comedy, like I've written about New York, I've written about Chicago, they all have specific details that I mention from when I visited. I want to say in Chicago, the trees were there first. So there are a lot of winding sidewalks that go around trees. Is that a detail that other people notice? I don't know. Maybe not. But I sure noticed that they respect those trees that have been there longer than a lot of them. Yeah, because they're big and old and awesome.
That's a really cool detail.
So I did add that to my story because I felt that Chicago needed that detail. When you walk around the streets, is those little things that I absorb all the time that I'd like to add to my stories. I feel that they do bring a richness to the storytelling because I know somebody just asked me the other day, she's like, I really felt like I was there. You really put in a lot of personality into the setting. And I try to do that. So I felt that maybe I succeeded there. So that it's always important. Setting is always important for me.
Very nice. Your stories, particularly your rom-com stories, all feel like they have this touch of whimsy to them. Is there any particular reason you're drawn to this flavor of fiction?
I don't want readers to waste their time.
That's good.
Especially if they feel they're wasting their time reading my stories, then they should move on to something else. I don't want to waste anyone's time. So that's one of the things I really focus on and why I have this kind of whimsy or my endings tend to be satisfying. I really think about the audience and how they react and how they're going to finish the story. If I can keep them to the end, I know that I will keep them forever. That's what I want to do. I want readers to read all my stuff. And so that's one of the reasons why I really put a lot of effort into making a really lovely ending that people will make them feel like they spent their time well.
This question is actually kind of a piggyback to that question.
Okay.
Which is, because you've got two different brands, you've got your rom-com brand and your fantasy brand, how do you navigate writing these different genres and maintaining a consistent voice?
Right. I don't really want to say it's tricky because it's just I love writing magic and fate. There you go. And for me, both genres have this. I see very little difference. My voice is youthful and poetic, and that translates for both genres. So I always like to write funny as well. And so my fantasy series is full of humor, as well with my rom-coms. So there's just a aspect of in my voice that likes to carry on that poetic magic throughout whatever I do.
Okay. Do you find balancing the funny aspects, the comedic aspects of your work, do you find it difficult to balance that with the more serious themes in your stories?
Sort of. I think that the comedy there needs to be a tension breaker sometimes. So when things in my series, there is a lot of tension. There's a lot of battles. And to have a release of some of that buildup for the reader so they can take a breath, I feel is very needed sometimes, especially when you're like, my last book is nothing but like, seriously, just one big old battle. And you need to have a little bit of the personality of the characters come out a little bit in order for there to be that breath of life that people need sometimes when they're writing or reading. That's what I mean.
All right, we're going to move on to Vampirish because it's a very unique take on vampire lore. Where did this come from?
This is a funny story. So for my day job, I work in a blood bank, which in itself is kind of amusing because who does that? Who works in a blood bank? Like nobody. Why would he? It's the weirdest job ever. But I work in a blood bank and I am very familiar with a lot of the blood products. And Vampirish, what this kid Oliver, is trying to do is fix his vampirism, basically, in a lot of the things that he's trying. And I got a chance to bring in some of my science from that. But the idea of Vampirish came when I was at work. This is so gross. I was at work and my coworker Cassidy, who I dedicate the book to, got splashed in the mouth, as what happens when you're at medical stuff, right? Got splashed in the mouth with platelets. So platelets there's 3 different components. I can't believe I'm going to this. You got your packed red cells, you've got your plasma, and for those of you who donate, and then platelets. Platelets are your white cells that are going to initiate clotting. And when you donate those, we love our platelet donors. It takes about 2 hours for you to donate platelets because it's done by a process called apheresis, and it goes where the blood comes out, the platelets spin in a centrifuge-ish type thing, and then your blood goes back inside and the platelets go into a bag. Anyway, that was a long explanation of nothing. But he got splashed. This bag had cracked somewhere and he didn't know it, and he went to go grab it and it just splashed into his face and into his mouth. And he mentioned that platelets tasted a bit like condensed milk.
Ew.
Right? Ugh. Condensed milk is rather sweet. I was like, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was like, oh, if the vampires only knew. And then I thought of these high society vampires with these swirling goblets of platelets instead of like blood. And made me giggle so
So would drinking
much.
plasma be the equivalent of drinking water?
No, platelets, man. This is platelets.
I mean, that's if you want a rich dessert.
Yeah, platelets apparently taste really sweet. Like butterscotch.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the seeds of vampire-ish, is thinking about these high society vampires. It just cracked me up. Yeah, there you go. That's the story. That was a long-winded story. I'm so sorry.
No, it's a good story. I like that story. So you've talked about your initial challenges with querying and traditional publishing and self-publishing. From all you've learned from that, what would you pass on to an aspiring author today?
That is a very, very good question. I've done a lot. I've been through a lot. But I think everyone's path looks differently, right? And every writer needs and seeks different lessons, I think. I needed to grow confidence in my writing and in myself. It was important for me to be, as I said, traditionally published at first, because there was no way that I would have had the confidence to even seek self-publishing if I hadn't had experienced that. I needed to just understand the process, right? I needed to go through the editing process with an actual editor so I could see and learn exactly what editing was and how it's achieved, and understand the mechanics and what they're looking for. I needed those experiences of what happens when you do not have any say in what your cover looks like. This is something that I completely learned from this experience, and it's strange. It's hard to, this is something that you've put your blood and sweat into. This is your baby. This is your brain coming out in words, and you don't have a say on what the cover looks like. That is so strange to me, that you don't have that creative say at all.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Traditional world is
It's kind of strange.
very strange.
I think aspiring authors need to seek out the experience that they specifically need. Like if they feel that I would look at your own strengths and see, or your weaknesses, see where you might need to focus, what you need in your publishing journey. If you feel that you need to go through an agent and go through traditionally published and understand what that's like, then seek it out and see what lessons you can learn from that. Or if you want to try the self-publishing, there's still so much you need to learn and know, and seek out how to do all that and just make sure, you can do it right. So I feel fortunate with the lessons I learned and how they shaped me in the specifics and in my specific journey, because I feel like I got a little bit blessed by doing the traditional first and then understanding the weaknesses and strengths of that in order to become a success in self-publishing. So yeah, that's a very good question. I hope that is good enough for you aspiring authors. But yeah, everyone's journey looks different.
That was an excellent answer. And we're going to follow it right up with the same setup. But what would you tell yourself if you could go back to your beginnings with all the experience you have now? What would you tell yourself as you're starting out?
I don't know. I just don't know how to answer that, because if I did, I wouldn't want to tell myself anything different. I often think about, should I have signed that contract with Skylar back in 2012? Should I have gone with something bigger? There's a lot of what ifs that I think about a lot of the time. But then what comes back to me is, if I hadn't had signed that contract, what would I be missing? So I wouldn't know you.
True.
We wouldn't be doing this podcast. There are so many things that I would not have learned. And I don't know what my path would have looked like. So it's hard to say what I would tell myself, what kind of advice I'd give myself, because it wouldn't matter. I think that I needed to go through those pains and growing pains that we do as writers. So good question. I'm going to think on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep on it
it
and see if I have an answer for you tomorrow. So,
all right. A big part of being an author is connecting with readers. And I know you've participated in large community events such as FanX. Have these experiences influenced how you connect with readers?
Sort of. Okay, so my goal for writing really is inspiring others. And FanX and other conventions like this are incredible. They have incredible energy. And it is where I meet like the most incredible readers. A lot of the readers are there because they love fantasy. They love cosplay. They love, all those, so much nerdity. Is nerdity a word? It is so, now. It's so
it's
fun.
Nerd-tastic.
There. So there I have met people that have followed me for years, and I've been so impressed. I got people have sent me fan art. Isn't that strange? It doesn't seem like I should ever have that, but I'm offering them a tangible experience, at an adventure, and that's just something that I feel that they're really receptive to. But one thing I will say that about this is just in general about doing these conferences is that it feels like our lives are just open to people. Like they have a piece of you now with your book. They have access to you. And that's one of the things that I really learned about these conferences is how important privacy is and how you need to feel safe. I know that a lot of the times how we set up our booth is very specific because I want to feel safe behind the booth. There have just been times, specifically in different conferences, I want to say Salt Lake Comic Con was one of those experiences. There was a terrifying experience where I did not feel safe there because there's so many people. I mean, what would one person threaten you? They can, it just is, I had to get security involved with that and blacklist the person and all this. It was so hard. And I learned that how important your specific safety is when you do these kind of events. So I'm very cautious. I'm very specific about who I work with. There's a very specific places I want to be. I require an open space. I love corners. You know that.
Corners are nice.
And it's not just because of traffic flow, it's because of visibility.
And escape routes.
It is because of escape routes. It's just there can be a lot of weird people that think that because you are accessible online that you can be accessible at a conference, and that's not exactly true. So anyway, there you go.
Okay.
that went down a dark tunnel, didn't it?
Yeah, that went a little sideways.
But one of my very favorite things that ever I love FanX or any of those fan conferences more than anything. I really love being there. It's hard work to do all those. But there is nothing better than talking to readers and people that have revisited you because they've read your stuff. There's nothing better. Or having a line of people that wanted to meet you. What the heck? That is the strangest thing ever.
People that travel from Hawaii to say hi to their favorite authors.
It is so weird,
and
right?
give them macadamia chocolate candies.
Yes, it's so crazy.
If y'all are listening, we love you.
Thank you so much. Those were amazing. So it's crazy. It's awesome. Those are my favorite moments within cons.
All right, let's turn our attention to your experience with being on a podcast. Let's get a little navel-gazy here. How has being on the podcast impacted your writing and also how you interact with the writing community?
I think you touched on this, but I feel that this podcast has just been such a fun endeavor, and it's elevated how we can talk about writing and how we can inspire others. There's only so much impact you can make in classrooms and at conferences. It takes a lot of creative energy to produce this podcast, don't you think?
Yeah.
And sometimes it wipes me completely out that I don't have any energy to focus on anything else. And I think we mentioned in an episode about only being able to, I can only handle 5 things. This is a metaphorical 5 things, but it's just might be one thing too many. So I don't have creative energy to write on my stuff because I'm really focusing on the podcast. We have blogs, we have to just produce all this material all the time. It's a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work. And I love the fact that we can reach people that are not just in the state, but in like far, far away. I know that if you can get Spotify in India, you can hear it in India. So
Seeing
we're global.
Myself
it's
on
awesome.
YouTube Shorts still freaks me out. I'm like, what am I doing there?
It's just so cool. It's just cool. It's been a great, really fun adventure in how to inspire others.
Terrific. So part of being on the podcast, this ended up being a collaborative work, and you've done collaborative work with other authors. Mm-hmm. What do you value most in these kind of creative collaborations?
I like to help others succeed. If other people have dreams and I can help with that dream, then I'm going to help. That's what I want to do. I've done that with multiple authors who have wanted to like relaunch their series. They got their rights back and they want to now self-publish and they don't know exactly how to do that. I totally help with that. Not only doing it, but helping with other people. You just have such a huge array of knowledge of all the things that you need to do. Just today, I answered text about publishing and making sure that your formatting is correct and making sure you have ISBNs and making sure I was like, you got to get your copyright in. And she's like, I have to do that. I'm like, you should do your copyright. Little things that people just don't even know. But in the end, I love that I can help people do this. And I think that as authors, we are afraid we won't be young all the time. Like we're not the hot author or we'll try to rush. I think that's it. I loved inspiring others.
Excellent. So you've already talked about how you are a professional blood dealer. Professional blood expert. You are a scientist. Does this scientific element of yourself inform how you do your world building and character development? Do you take a scientific approach to these because of your science background?
Yes. Science has helped me process. Like as writers, we like to ask questions. As scientists, we like to ask questions. So there's a process of investigation that happens with science that happens in writing as well. I think it's been really helpful because just like in the scientific method, you have to come up with your question, your hypothesis, and then find the answers. As writers, we're doing pretty much the same thing, right? So by asking the why, I love to ask the question why and just keep going. Why does this character want to do this? Why did they seek this person? Why is this person so important? And keep on going until you really get a good feel of everything. And it's the same with science. Science gives you specific answers. There's specific organization to how you need to do certain things in science. Like in blood, you have to do very specific processes in order to get the answers. And I feel that my science background has done the same thing for me, helped me in the same way as writing. And so I process my characters and my settings the same kind of way in a specific order of functionality. It's just how my brain processes now. When you're a scientist and you do it for so many years, it's just how you think. It's just how you process it. So,
all right,
second nature now.
Process.
Yeah, sure.
Makes sense.
Okay. You get it. You totally get it.
I do. I've got a science background.
Yep, you totally get it.
All right,
we're like a crazy person.
A little bit, yes. We're going to flip the script. We're going to change our tunes just a little bit. It's well known that you love Count Chocula and retro games.
I love retro gaming.
Have you ever snuck any of these references to things you adore in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. I do it all the time because we absorb what is around us, right? And I love to give my characters charm, right? So I mentioned Frankenberry in one of my books. Frankenberry, of all things. I think that was hilarious. You know, I think as authors, it's important to put in our personal experiences in order to make it a little bit more human and how they're reading it. There's only so much research you can do without actually, bringing in some of that personal experiences. I think I think it also helps connect with the readers a little bit. So,
all right. What's your favorite font?
Garamond. Well, here's the thing. I immediately. Okay, so
Sorry, I just did an Uno reverse on Candy.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I hope this doesn't come out as like a thesis. Okay, so I don't like Times Roman. Times Roman is hard for me to read because you know where how the G is written, and it's like swirly and it looks like an 8. My brain just sees lines. So it's oftentimes I don't read well in Times Roman. And I also need things to be specific spaces. So yes, I love writing in Century Gothic because there's no curling edit at all. And then when I edit, I go into Garamond. And Garamond is the Harry Potter font, basically. It's what they use for all of their formatting for reading. And I can read that really well. So that's why I switch fonts when I edit, because I can see things differently it looks like a different book completely when I'm writing. So yeah, Century Gothic at 12 point. And yeah, and then Garamond.
I knew you'd have an answer for that.
But Garamond, I don't like Garamond as italicized. And I think everyone knows that. It looks terrible italicized. So be careful with what you do when you italicize Garamond, because you might need to use a different font for anything that's italicized.
Good to know.
Yes.
Good to know.
It is. So,
alrighty.
Good question there.
Okay, so you've got a diverse portfolio that goes from fantasy to poetry to romantic comedy. You have some nonfictions out there. What new genres or themes would you be eager to explore in the future?
I don't think I'm smart enough for mystery, but I really like mysteries. And I feel that you have to write those books backwards. But I don't actually know. I've never written one. So mystery might be something that I would investigate. But of course, it would have to have some kind of fantastical element to it. So it couldn't just be a Agatha Christie mystery. It would need to have
plenty of fantastical elements to it.
Yeah, it'd need to have some kind of paranormal activity. But there also needs to be a very gratifying ending. So maybe the person didn't actually die. I don't even know. I don't know. It's a good question, and I wish I had the right answer for that. I'm going to have to let it simmer a little bit.
All right.
So
you have a lot of things on your plate where you're an author, a parent, a scientist, a podcaster. What advice would you give to people who are busy like you are to help them maintain their creative momentum?
That's the magic question, because I feel like I don't have creative momentum a lot of the time, which isn't true. I'm constantly working on stuff, but I do tend to feel like a failure because there's so many plates to spin, so advice-wise, I don't want people to give up on dreams because it's hard. I think that if we can do it, there are a lot of people that are in the same kind of situation as us, where we're doing so many things. We're writing books, we're raising kids, we're teaching classes, I'm going to work every day. All these things that are we're constantly moving. And I can see where people might feel that they are failing in their creative endeavors. But as long as you continually, you know that it's important to you, it will always be important to you, and you shouldn't give up on that. You should always just keep your creative being alive, because it will surprise you sometimes when you don't feel like you can create a story and all of a sudden something beautiful comes out. And there's specific stories that I don't think I would have written unless I had been in the specific season of my life where there were a lot of things happening, because I was around a lot of creative people. I was around a lot of energy, and I was around youth. And I was also sparked by their kind of energy and what kind of characters I wanted to write. So yeah, it can be hard. It can be hard, but it's not impossible. It actually makes, if you succeed while things are hard like that, you feel so awesome. It's just an awesome feeling to know that you did these things while things were hard. When you did become this success, you did become this whatever author of a series, fantasy series. And I can't believe I did that. Well, so I'm just rambling now, but yeah, don't give up. There you go.
Gotcha. You have reached the last question. How are you feeling?
Thank you.
I think I put you through a ringer a little bit.
A little bit.
This is an easy one, I promise.
Okay.
Do you have anything coming out in the future that you would like to tell us about?
Good question. Kind of, not really. I do have a poem that is being published in our newest anthology for the League of Utah Writers. It comes out in August. And then I'm really hoping that I've got a whole bunch of story ideas with my pen name, with the rom-coms. So I have a persuasion retelling that I'm doing. I'm starting my book with the Fate and Karma Meet for Coffee. That is a really fun one that I'm turning into a novel. And
oh, cute.
I know, it's going to be so much fun. But anyway, yeah, and now I don't know. I still got bucket list items. I still want to sing the Star Spangled Banner at some kind of event, right? You should sing with me. Wouldn't that be fun?
Okay.
Yeah, it would be so much fun. Yeah, we should do that.
Right.
Maybe we should do a play. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I got lots of ideas.
You have a lot of ideas.
Sorry.
You have a lot of ideas.
Oh my gosh, Jodi, thank you for this. I don't know. This has been a very, very thoughtful episode, and I hope it helps people.
I think we discussed a lot of very interesting things, a lot of really good things.
Yeah, very good.
Definitely learned more about you in some very interesting ways.
Right. Okay. So, Jodi, tell us about our next episode, please.
We are coming up to the end of season 2. So our next episode is going to be us bringing the season to a close. I think we're going to be sharing some of our memories, some of the things we've learned. And I think it's going to be a nice little reflection of this most recent year of podcasting.
Yep. Sounds awesome.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are.
Sure.
I'm looking super forward to hitting the button. This has been fun.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jodi L. Milner. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone.
A little hit of the bottle. We're good. I'm going to just start that question again.
Is that the... Oh, no. I'm reading the wrong one. I have to go back. No, stop. Okay, let me go back. Okay. Yes, I did squirrel. Okay.
I don't know if we should tell them about the next episode.
It's a surprise.
I don't know if it should be a surprise. It feels like it should possibly not be a surprise.
Okay.
We haven't discussed this.
No, we haven't.